Imagine checking your mail one quiet morning, expecting nothing more than a bill or a brochure, only to find a Centrelink letter demanding $4,000 you didn't even know you owed. For one elderly couple, that single envelope turned their peaceful retirement upside down. They'd followed the rules, reported everything honestly, and lived carefully on their pension. Yet suddenly, they were being told they'd been overpaid and had to give thousands back. Shocked, confused, and terrified of losing their income, they set out to uncover how this happened, and what they discovered could happen to almost anyone receiving Centrelink payments. When the couple first saw the letter, they assumed it was some kind of mistake. They had never asked for extra payments, they hadn't received any unusual deposits, and their financial situation hadn't changed dramatically. Yet there it was in black and white. A notice from Services Australia saying that a debt had been raised against their name due to an alleged overpayment. The letter listed a time period covering several months and detailed that their age pension had been overpaid because of an error in income reporting. At first they were confused. They didn't remember missing any reports or making any changes. But as they started digging deeper, they discovered that a small discrepancy in the reporting of assets had triggered an automated recalculation by Centrelink. That small detail, something as minor as the valuation of a managed investment account, had snowballed into a $4,000 debt. For many Australians on fixed incomes, situations like this are becoming increasingly common. Centrelink, which is administered by Services Australia, regularly reviews recipients' information to ensure that payments are accurate. This process involves comparing data from the Australian Taxation Office, banks, and other agencies. If discrepancies are found, even minor ones, the system can automatically raise what's called an account payable, meaning it believes you've been paid more than you should have been. The couple in this story discovered that their situation wasn't unusual. Thousands of people each year find themselves receiving debt letters, often because of mismatches between reported income and the actual data held by the government. In many cases, these debts are legitimate. In others, they're the result of errors, system glitches, or outdated information. For the elderly couple, the emotional impact was immediate. They had lived modestly, budgeting every dollar of their fortnightly pension to cover rent, medications, utilities, and groceries. Seeing a debt of $4,000 felt like a heavy blow, especially because they weren't sure if they had done anything wrong. They tried calling Centrelink's debt recovery line but were met with long wait times and automated prompts. When they finally spoke to a representative, they were told the debt had been automatically raised and that repayments could be deducted directly from their future pension payments. Imagine that moment, realizing that the small amount you rely on for daily essentials could soon be reduced to recover a debt you don't fully understand. But here's the crucial part of the story. Under Australian law, you have rights when it comes to Centrelink debts. If you receive a debt notice, you are entitled to ask for a detailed explanation of how that amount was calculated. You can also request a review if you believe there's an error. This process is called a formal review of decision, and it gives you the chance to present evidence, clarify circumstances, and potentially have the debt reduced or waived. Many people don't realize that repayments can be paused while the review is underway. That's exactly what the couple did. They requested a review and asked that no money be deducted until the situation was properly investigated. This simple step helped them avoid immediate financial hardship while giving them time to gather documents and seek advice. As the review progressed, it became clear that part of the debt came from an honest misunderstanding. The couple had reported their income correctly, but Centrelink's automated data matching system had picked up an old bank account that had been closed years earlier. Because the system didn't have updated information, it assumed there was still an asset balance there and recalculated their entitlement incorrectly. Once they provided proof that the account no longer existed, the debt was partially reduced. However, a smaller amount remained due to differences in how investment income was assessed. While it wasn't the full $4,000 anymore, it was still a significant financial burden for them, a reminder of how even small errors can have large impacts. Their experience highlights a bigger issue that affects thousands of Australians each year. Centrelink's compliance system is largely automated, which means that data mismatches can sometimes produce debts that are incorrect or inflated. This is why it's so important to regularly review your information on MyGov and ensure that all your financial details are accurate, from bank balances and investment accounts to property assets and living arrangements. If something changes, report it immediately. Even a small oversight, like forgetting to update your savings after selling a car or receiving an inheritance, can cause overpayments that lead to debt notices months or even years later. There's also a human side to this that can't be ignored. Receiving a government debt notice is intimidating, especially for older Australians who may not be comfortable navigating online systems or complex bureaucratic language. Many feel embarrassed or anxious, worrying that they've done something wrong. But it's important to understand that being issued a debt doesn't mean you're guilty of misconduct or dishonesty. Most overpayments happen because of miscommunication, timing differences, or administrative mistakes. The law allows for debts to be waived in certain circumstances, particularly if the overpayment wasn't your fault and recovering it would cause you serious hardship. If you can demonstrate that you acted honestly, that you reported your information in good faith, and that the error originated from Centrelink's side, you may be eligible to have the debt reduced or wiped entirely. In the case of the couple, once their review was finalized, they were able to negotiate a manageable repayment plan for the remaining balance. Centrelink allowed them to repay in small fortnightly amounts, ensuring that their essential expenses were still covered. They also received guidance from a financial counselor, who helped them understand their rights and avoid future issues. This experience, while stressful, became a lesson in how important it is to stay proactive, informed, and calm when dealing with government payments. For anyone watching this who might find themselves in a similar situation, here's what you need to know. First, if you receive a debt notice, don't panic, and don't ignore it. Ignoring it won't make it go away. In fact, it could lead to automatic deductions from your future payments or even referral to a collection agency. Instead, read the notice carefully. Check the period it covers, the reason it was raised, and the exact amount claimed. Log into your MyGov account to review your payment history. If anything doesn't make sense, contact Centrelink immediately and request an explanation. You can also ask for a copy of the calculation used to determine the debt. That's your right. Second, consider requesting a review. You can do this through your MyGov account or by speaking directly with a Centrelink officer. When you request a review, repayments can often be paused until a decision is made. Third, if you're struggling financially, you can apply for a hardship variation or a reduced repayment rate. Centrelink is required to consider your circumstances and ensure you're not left without enough money for basic living expenses. It's also worth mentioning that several independent organizations can help you understand your options. Legal aid offices, financial counseling services, and advocacy groups like Economic Justice Australia and National Debt Helpline offer free advice to people facing Centrelink debts. These services can help you check whether the debt is valid, assist in preparing review requests, and negotiate repayment terms on your behalf. Many Australians have had their debts reduced or cancelled entirely after seeking help, especially when errors or outdated information were involved. Stories like this elderly couple's are reminders that while Centrelink systems are designed to ensure fairness, they're not perfect. Mistakes happen, and when they do, people can find themselves under unexpected financial pressure. But knowledge is power. Knowing your rights, understanding the process, and acting quickly can make all the difference between panic and resolution. The couple's case shows that staying calm, asking questions, and insisting on clarity can help you regain control and find a fair outcome. As Australia's cost of living continues to rise, the stress of managing debt, especially one that appears suddenly, can take a toll not just financially, but emotionally. For many seniors, Centrelink is their lifeline. That's why it's so important to keep your records up to date, report any changes promptly, and check your MyGov notifications regularly. Prevention is always easier than dealing with a surprise debt down the line. So, what can we take away from this story? First, always verify every letter or notice you receive, and remember that scammers often target people by pretending to be from Centrelink. Official correspondence will come through your MyGov inbox or the Services Australia portal. Never click on random links or provide your banking details over the phone unless you've initiated the call through an official number. Second, don't be afraid to question a debt notice. The review process exists for a reason, and countless Australians have successfully challenged incorrect debts. Third, seek help early. You don't have to face it alone. Legal aid, financial counselors, and community services are there to support you. By the end of their journey, the elderly couple had not only reduced their debt, but also gained a much clearer understanding of how the system works. What began as a frightening experience turned into an opportunity to learn, advocate, and share their story so others could avoid the same pitfalls. They now encourage friends and family who receive Centrelink payments to check their details regularly and to always keep records of communication and income changes. Their message is simple: stay alert, stay organized, and never be afraid to ask questions. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, share it with others who might benefit, and subscribe for more updates and insights about Centrelink, financial assistance, and living well on a pension in Australia. The more we understand the system, the better prepared we all are to handle unexpected challenges. And remember, being informed is the best protection you can have against unnecessary stress or unexpected debt.